The following is a presentation of the TNH Podcast Network.
The Jazz are 1-0. I don't know if we want to talk about it. The Jazz are 1-0, guys. 82-0 on the way.
Jazz going to beat the Clippers twice?
Does a bear poop in the woods, Matt? Yes, it does.
Now I think that's another bold prediction.
I think that's a more bold prediction now. I kind of want to keep going on this because
Listen,
we're all clamoring about how good the Clippers look.
Yeah, no, I love the Clippers. Jazz are my guys out west. Mike Conley was 1 for 16. He was abysmal in their game against the Thunder, and they still won. I mean, they did play the Thunder, whatever. The Thunder are going to stink out loud. They won. They're 1-0. I can't hate it.
Donovan
Mitchell looked good.
He didn't look good. He looked friggin' amazing.
Amazing.
Did you see his highlights?
Think
Some of the moves he's putting on, it's...
if he turns into that guy, whew, people are going to
think
hate to see me and be like, oh, you bet the Jazz?
I think he's turning into that guy right before our eyes.
And that's what the Jazz need. If the Jazz get that guy, good luck.
What is good, everyone? Welcome to the 4th episode of the 2nd season of the HoopCats podcast on the TNH Podcast Network. My name is Sam Eggert, and I am here back with the crew, Yanni, Kakouris, and Matt Erb. Boys, how we doing?
Fantastic as usual.
Good morning, Sam.
We're here. We're ready to talk some basketball. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the most recent slate of NBA games in this early 2019-2020 season. We have some NBA award predictions, and we'll be closing out the show with the 2019-2020 HoopCats bold predictions. So we got a lot in store, but let's begin with last night's game, Rockets versus Bucks. Game took place in Houston. These new-look Rockets versus Giannis and the Bucks. Giannis fouls out with 5 minutes to go, yet the Bucks still pulled out for a 117-111 victory led by Giannis' 30 points and strong play from Chris Middleton down the stretch. For Houston, James Harden struggled, going 2 of 13 from the field, also scoring 14 of his 19 points from the free throw line. Russell Westbrook almost had a triple-double in his Rockets debut, scoring 24 points, pulled down 16 boards, and also dished out 7 assists. Matt, we were watching this game last night. Not really the most pleasurable viewing experience to start off, would you say?
So here's the thing, Sam, Yanni. I'm disappointed short term, right? That's a game they could have won. They were up 17 and a half. They were running the pick and roll so well with Capella and Chandler. It looked very promising to me. But, of course, they ended up losing. I mean, Giannis did his thing. What are you going to do? Triple-double. James Harden shot horribly. Eric Gordon as well shot 4 for 19. That's not Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's not going to do that all night. But I'm really encouraged long-term, and this is why. James Harden and Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double together, right? They had Westbrook, like you said, 24 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists. Harden, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 14 assists. Those are good numbers. I'm really encouraged by Harden's assist total because even though he wasn't shooting the ball terribly well, he was dishing it out to his players and making them better as well. So overall, I'm a little disappointed that that's a game they could have won. But again, just like a lot of teams this year, they're still figuring things out. It was their first game. And I think it's a little misleading to say Chris Middleton was good down the stretch. He shot 4 for 16. He was another one that wasn't anything special. I give props to Wesley Matthews, Brook Lopez, and Ilyasova for that late term run after Giannis.
Once Giannis fouled out, you can't deny that Middleton scored like 2 buckets in a row, like right after that, to kind of keep them ahead.
Yeah, and so did Wesley Matthews, and Brook Lopez was dominant in the post.
Yeah, he had that nice little hook shot.
Yeah, he had a few shots. I thought in the absence of a big like that, Brook Lopez did his job.
So I was watching this game as well, not with you guys, sadly. Didn't catch the invite, it's all right. But anyways, the Bucks are 5 letters, and I'll spell it out for you. Legit. If I am in the Eastern Conference, I am not looking forward to a matchup with the Bucks. And here's why. They have arguably the best player in basketball as of right now, the Greek Freak. He looked unstoppable while he was in the game. An easy stat line for him, fouling out with 5 minutes left, 30 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists, a triple-double, and he didn't even play the whole entire game. They are stacked, top to bottom. I was watching that game. All of a sudden, Kyle Korver hit a 3, and I'm like, what in the world? When did Kyle Korver get on the Bucks? That freaked me out. He is their 10th man, I'm pretty sure, off the bench. And, I mean, that's one of the best shooters in the game. They are scary. Pat Connaughton looks like he's growing into a good role. Ilyasova played better than I ever saw him play in Philly. The Bucks are a force to be reckoned with, and they scare me big time.
So you don't think that losing Malcolm Brogdon is going to really show that much?
I thought so at first. Before that game, I really did think so because Brogdon played well in his game for Indiana. He had over 20 points, just a pretty solid stat line for him. But the people who filled in for him, as Matt said, Wesley Matthews, George Hill off the bench played well, And Pat Connaughton, I mean, I watched this kid in high school at St. John's Prep. He's a beast. He's really forming into his NBA role. He's been a natural athlete his whole life, drafted for baseball as well, along with basketball. They're legit. They are legit.
So to you both, was this more about bad Rockets play or good Bucks play?
Oh, I'm going to say good Bucks play.
I see. I'm going to have to disagree because Eric Gordon and James Harden shot terribly. And yes, they were playing good defense on Harden. But again, Giannis did not play well the first half. He absolutely did not play well. He came alive in the second half and played like an MVP, especially in the third quarter.
And that's what it was about, the fact that he came through when they needed it. And on the
he
contrary,
didn't come through because he
Harden
was
didn't.
fouled out.
Well, he fouled out with 5 minutes to go in the fourth.
Yeah,
in the third quarter, if he doesn't blow up, they don't come back.
So I'm saying if Harden hits, let's say, even 5 for 13 and Eric Gordon hits 8 for 19, Rockets win that game. I think it was just bad shooting for the Rockets. I thought the Rockets played well.
The shooting wasn't good.
I think Brogdon will be missed. I mean, Wesley Matthews did his thing. He scored when they needed him, absolutely. Ilyasova took a lot of charges and stuff. But I think the Rockets just had a really bad shooting night.
I agree, but I thought that Wes Matthews, Eric Bledsoe, Pat Connaughton, like their combo of perimeter defenders did a really strong job preventing James Harden from getting to his spots. And that made a difference because you could tell that he was just like kind of flustered out there throughout the game, not really comfortable. And that's attributed to the defense, I think, more than Harden's just inability to get open. Because if the spots are there, he'll get to them and he'll make the shots.
See, it scares me that your MVP leaves the game and you can still pull away from one of the overpowered Western Conference powerhouses. If that's the case, the Bucks are going to be unstoppable. Unstoppable, and it is going to be sick to watch. Giannis is looking for a potential back-to-back repeat of MVP at this rate. We'll get into that later.
So continuing on the NBA slate, Clippers beat the Lakers on opening night, led by dynamic performances from Kawhi and then the bench combo of Montrezl Harrell and Sweet Lou. For the Lakers, AD looked pretty good. He dropped 25 points. Danny Green scored 28. LeBron had 18, but those were the only players in double figures for the purple and gold. Guys, we all watched this game. What do we think of the Clippers and the Lakers after that performance?
So, I don't know if you can tell. I might be a little under the weather this morning. I'm a little sick. Do you know why?
No, I couldn't.
I'm a little sick and tired of people trying to tell me that LeBron and the LA Fakers are even contenders in the Western Conference. I was sick to my stomach watching them play basketball. LeBron James is not even the best player on the second best team in his city, let alone his conference. The Clippers dominated them on both ends. It was a shaky start, I'll admit. Most teams come out of the gate for their first game, shaky start. We saw that across the board. No team came out and dominated. The Clippers blew them out of the water after that. LeBron stunk. The Lakers stunk. LeBron's stat line was fine, right? On paper, what do you have? 18, 9, and 8, something like that.
Yeah.
He had 5 turnovers. His plus minus was -6. And if it wasn't for Danny Green coming alive and scoring almost a third of their points, the Lakers blown out. And it's not even close. The LA Fakers are going to stink this season. Stink. You heard it here first.
Yeah, listen, like you said, Danny Green single-handedly saved the Lakers from getting embarrassed. LeBron played horribly. There was no aggression on offense some of the time. He had like that one good dunk, and he was playing good defense. I'll give him that. He was playing defense, but his offense was terrible. He kept giving Davis the ball in the post, and that just wasn't working. Doc Rivers is smart enough to figure that out, and he put the right defender on it. And, you know, I think they're still contenders, but the coaching game plan has to change. They were playing well. Like, I know it's preseason, but they were running the pick and rolls with LeBron and Davis. It just, they didn't do any of that at all. And it was a shame because LeBron, yes, he can handle the ball. He can dish it out to people. But I learned from that game that he's going to have to play a lot of offense too. He can't just rely on Davis to do everything because Davis can't do everything.
You're right about that. They need a better performance out of LeBron. They need a better performance out of all of their bench guys because when you're getting only a combined, 20 points from your entire bench, and 0 points out of KCP, who's apparently supposed to be a big-time player for them.
He was brutal. And I think 27 minutes of basketball. He was brutal.
He played 27 minutes, and Yanni, you talk about frauds.
Oh, yuck. That's gruesome.
KCP's making us all nauseous here in the studio.
I mean, you go through their roster. It just, doesn't impress me. Off the bench, KCP, Dwight Howard, who, in my opinion, did not look that good. He had maybe spurts of okay, but he did not look that good. Quinn Cook, I love him. My favorite player to ever come out of Duke. He is not confident on the court until he gets into a groove, and that hurts him. So that is not going to help the Lakers. I mean, Jared Dudley, are you serious? You're relying on Jared Dudley to come off the bench? I mean, the Lakers might start every game with like a 6 to 8 point lead just because they have those guys to make a spurt in the beginning. But afterwards, once their bench guys come in, it is tragic. It's the second quarter. They gave up 40 points in the second quarter alone.
Well, you know Jared Dudley's plus minus was?
Tell me.
Minus 20.
Yeah, that is awful. I'm the biggest plus minus guy in the whole entire country.
I wouldn't go that far.
That's my stat.
It's my stat too.
All right. Well,
So we're in agreement.
all right, we are in agreement.
So we're the
It's
biggest plus minus podcast in the country.
or at least on this side of the Mississippi, at minimum.
I think I'm going to say in the country.
All
I think
right.
that's fair.
Deal. I think that's fair as well. I just don't want to discriminate any other Western Coastal podcasts before we get ahead of ourselves here. But plus minus is the most important stat in basketball. You can have the stats, you can have the points, rebounds, assists. If your team is getting scored on and not scoring when you're on the court and your plus minus stinks out loud, you stink out loud. And I've had enough of you. That is it. LeBron James, show up, buddy. Show up. I got some words for you, and they're not nice.
You know, speaking of, I'm so interested with this plus minus stat. I'm looking at, this might segue into the Clippers-Warriors game, Sam, but Draymond Green, D'Angelo Russell, you know what their plus minus was?
What?
Minus 35 each.
D'Angelo Russell?
D'Angelo Russell,
Minus 35.
yeah, and Draymond Green. Steph Curry at
seemed
minus
like he was-
19, and Robinson at the third at minus 22.
It seemed like Russell was the only one kind of scoring the basketball for them, at least in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, he averaged 20 points, which is decent, and Curry 23, but the Warriors are not going to be able to win games with those two only scoring 20 points each. They're going to, and yeah, Steph had a bad shooting night, 2 for 11 from 3. That's not going to happen, like Yanni said. People are rusty. People are shaky the first game. They'll get better. So they'll shoot those things better.
So let's rotate into that game. Pretty natural transition. Do we think the Warriors are in trouble? Are they? Because they did not look good last night.
They
I know
didn't
they're
look
playing
good.
the
It's not
Clippers.
even like their offense will get better. It's their defense that scares me. The Clippers scored 141 points on them. Clippers are a good team, right? Lou Williams 22.
I think we
Kawhi
can all agree on that.
Kawhi only played 3 quarters, really, too. He only played 21 minutes.
Well, that says something because they didn't
It
need him
does
to play
say
the
exactly.
fourth,
It does say something. So I think I'm worried about the Warriors' defense that they're going to get scored on easily, and then those defenders when on offense are going to sit on Steph Curry and just don't let him move, and it's going to be hard for him.
You're
They're
totally right. And we were watching this game, and going into the game, Matt, you can attest to this. I was saying, I'm not worried about the Warriors. I think they're going to be fine. They've got Steph. They've got D'Angelo Russell. Now, after watching that game, they have zero depth whatsoever.
Did you say that or did I say that?
I said that.
Okay,
I think
yeah.
we might have both been on the
I
same
think we
page
we
about
agreed.
that.
Yeah, because I don't
But-
remember saying that, but I know what you mean.
I don't think Glenn Robinson's a legitimate starter in this league. I
But
don't
who is
think-
a star? Like who is a starter for the 3 on that team?
I mean, it looks like. I think what would make the most sense for them, and I think Glenn Robinson's going to end up getting good minutes for them, but I think Eric Pascal is better than him.
Okay, I mean Eric Pascal did play more minutes than
Yeah, exactly.
Robinson, so he might work his way like go into the starting lineup.
And Robinson was minus 22. Pascal was plus 5.
Yeah.
But like looking past that,
Jordan
like
Poole too played well too. No,
Poole
sorry.
had- no, yeah,
no. I'm thinking of Evans.
yeah, Evans was good.
Jacob Evans,
but I
yeah.
think Marquise Chris is a duty. I think that Damian Lee is a duty. I mean, like Amari Spellman doesn't get me excited. Kevon Looney, like good
He
rebounder,
only
good
played 10
defender,
minutes, so like
but he's hurt.
yeah.
So I just
I'm
don't
worried
trust
about them on defense. I really am.
I think it's legitimate.
Yeah.
141 points, it's a lot.
So with the Clippers-Lakers game, I wanted to get into how much I hate the Lakers. With the Clippers-Warriors game, I wanted to get into how much I love the Clippers. Love the Clippers. I was sitting in the shower today. Not sitting. I was standing in the shower today. And I was thinking to myself, the Clippers look like a team that could win every single basketball game this year. 82-0 is what I'm thinking in my brain cells. They are so good. They don't want to lose a single game. Patrick Beverley is the most fun player to watch this season. He's going to be a walking movie every time you watch him. He's hilarious. Best defender in the game of basketball next to Marcus Smart, of course. Respect the homies. But the Clippers are legit. They are stacked. 1 through 9, they are stacked. And that is when they are going to beat teams. And you saw it against the Lakers with the Warriors game. I mean, just all the way down. They shut guys down. I mean, how many points did they allow? 120 something?
Last night,
Yeah.
the Clippers allowed 122 points to the Warriors.
But even then, their defense just locked down Curry, locked down Russell. I don't think guards are going to be able to beat the Clippers. If you have a team that is guard heavy, so let's say Portland, for example, I don't think Portland could ever walk in and beat the Clippers. Ever. Because they are that good defensively at the guard position. 1 through 3, I don't think you are going to score. You need a 4 and a 5 to score. And I mean, we saw it in the Lakers game. They couldn't even win with a 4 and a 5 to score. Who is going to beat the Clippers is my question. Nobody is the answer.
I don't think we have an answer for that right now. And like, I'm looking at this team, and you've got guys like, obviously you said it, Patrick Beverley, but when Patrick Patterson puts up 20 points,
he looks legit.
He went 6 of 10 from 3.
He can shoot the 3, and I think that is the scariest part. When you can spread the floor that much for Kawhi Leonard, who is another candidate for MVP. We'll get into that later. They are scary. Who is going to beat them in the West? I have no idea.
Yeah, the Clippers are definitely a deep team. They're scary. And I'm not going to say who I think will beat them because I think that'll go into bold predictions. But the Clippers are looking good.
So moving on, the Celtics, our Celtics lost to the Philadelphia 76ers on Wednesday, 107-93. Ben Simmons, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, with a beautiful layup. I don't know if you guys saw it, where he was kind of fading away from the rim.
Yeah.
Just kind of kissed it in. And like, I hate Ben Simmons as much as the next guy, but that was impressive. For the Celtics, Hayward and Tatum looked very good last night. Tatum, he did miss a bunch of shots from mid-range and whatnot like he usually does, but from 3, he looked good. Defensively, he was all right. Kemba, Cantor, JB, not as much scoring as you'd hope for. And then past Bobby Williams and Marcus Smart, the rest of the bench was really non-existent. And guys, I don't know about you, but I don't think the Celtics will be able to find any success if they're not getting any production out of guys like Tice, Carson Edwards, Lob Williams, Brad Wanamaker. Do you guys agree?
Here's
or
the thing
do you
with
think
the
that's a
Celtics.
starter-heavy team?
They're missing a good big. Cantor can do his thing, but they had Tatum starting at the 4. Tatum's not a 4. I was encouraged with the way Tatum was scoring, getting to the basket. I was encouraged with Gordon Hayward shooting 25 points. He's looking like old school Gordon Hayward now. I'm encouraged by that. Kemba Walker needs if he's only scoring 12 points, he needs to have higher than 2 assists. He needs to dish the ball. He didn't play terribly well. Yeah, and you're right. The bench needs to do a little more. But then again, you have to keep in mind who they're playing. Philly, who is a great defensive team. Talk about them a little bit. Al Horford did his thing. Ben Simmons put on a show. I'm a little worried a bit about the perimeter shooting. Besides Josh Richardson can shoot, but Joel Embiid 15 and 13. I know he only played 23 minutes, but he's got to do better than that.
So my take with the Celtics, I one time YouTube searched my high school's name. You know what came up? A middle school girls basketball game. Yes, a middle school girls basketball game.
From your high school?
I don't know why. Our YouTube search Timberlane. A Timberlane middle school girls basketball game popped up. We decided to watch that game, spurt through it. Clips of that game were showcased in the Celtics game. That game was cucka-poops. I hated watching that Celtics game. One of the grossest basketball games I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Both teams sucked. They were brutal to watch. Turnovers after missed shots, after terrible offensive possessions. The Sixers are a matchup nightmare for the Celtics because off the bench, you need Carson Edwards to score. But he's not going to. Being matched up against Ben Simmons, who's 20 feet taller than he is.
Or even Matisse Thybulle
Matisse Thybulle looked really good. I want to get into him later with our awards. But it's going to be an interesting season for the Celtics. I think Kemba Walker will figure it out. Gordon Hayward was the only bright spot, in my opinion, in the whole entire game. I love Tatum. Didn't think he played that well for the most part. It was just brutal. I couldn't even watch. The whole entire third quarter and fourth quarter, I complained about how bad the game was the whole entire time. Everyone got annoyed, and we ended up just changing the channel because it was that bad.
I hope I'm not stealing your thought here, Sam, but I know he had 5 fouls rather quickly, but for someone who just got a rookie extension, Jaylen Brown didn't play like someone who just got $115 million for 4 years.
Far from it.
No, and that's why I wasn't big on him getting the rookie extension, at least for that much.
He also only played 20 minutes, which was the least out of all the starters. But my 2 main takeaways from this game, number 1, you got to hit your free throws. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's as old as time. If you can't hit free throws, you're not going to win, not only in the NBA, but you're not going to win in a girls' middle school basketball game if you're not making your free throws. That's just the way basketball goes. My other main takeaway, and look, I know that he only played 2 minutes, but Grant Williams, Grant Williams,
Yep.
he's too small. He's 6'6", 6'5". His entire skill set is that of a big man from 1993. And I'm not seeing it. I was saying to Matt that I think his peak ceiling would be like PJ Tucker, maybe. A small guy who kind of plays like a big.
Yeah, who's tough.
Who's tough.
If he can play defense like Patrick Beverley or PJ Tucker.
But think about what you're saying. That's like saying like if somebody can play as one of the best players in the NBA. Not in the NBA, but like for that specific role.
No, Patrick Beverley's a great defender, but he's also a big mental player guy. So if obviously that's hard to do as a rookie, but if he can defend, like I said, like I talked to you last night, if he can 3-and-D kind of guy like Tucker, I think it's a decent player.
I'm hoping for the best, but I'm not confident. He didn't shoot any threes in college, so I don't know. But it's hard to say. Let's move on.
Before we do, final score of that middle school basketball game, 53-2.
Wow. Well, that's why it came up on YouTube then.
Yeah.
So moving on, award predictions. I thought it would be kind of testy to think about the Sixth Man of the Year award because you don't really know whose role is going to turn into what as the year goes on. So we're just going to do the MVP, Defensive Player, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. So I guess I might as well get it started with the MVP conversation. I think somebody...
Are we doing MVP? We'll all say MVP, then we'll all say defense, or are you going to do all yours at once?
No, we're all going to say our MVP.
Okay.
Yeah. So my MVP, and before we start the conversation, everyone list who their MVP is. So my MVP comes from the Bucks. It's not Brook Lopez. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo. He hit 3 threes last night. He missed 3 threes last night. I mean, if this dude's scoring from outside, unstoppable. Matt, who do you have?
You know, it's a crime that we didn't talk about this team, this game yet, but that's okay. I'm picking Nikola Jokic. I think that's the only team that's going to be able to beat the Clippers.
I think we're silly if we don't give it to the team who finishes higher based on their conference performance. So I'm going to give it to Giannis if the Bucks have a better record than the Clippers, and Kawhi if the Clippers have a better record than the Bucks. I think it is going to come down to those two in the end. I think one of those teams is going to absolutely destroy in their conference play, and it's going to be silly to not give it to that guy regardless of what the other person has done on the stat line. So I'm not going to give you a definite answer yet because it is going to depend so heavily on how those teams finish, in my opinion.
If you're basing it off conference play,
just
I think
not
that kind of
just conference play, but their record. I mean, like based on where they finish in the conference.
Well, yeah. I'm going to say that's kind of handing it to Giannis.
I think so as well. I think if the Bucks absolutely dominate and they are in first place in the Eastern Conference by 15 games, then yes, you have to give it to Giannis.
And that very much can happen. Because I think
so
that the only team that can really stop them would be the Sixers.
And I think the rest of the teams are just going to beat the absolute dog poop out of each other. So that is just going to separate Giannis and the Bucks from everyone else. And I think that is going to lead another MVP to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I agree. But what I struggle with for Kawhi is the fact that Kawhi, we know he's going to have load management throughout the year. So I don't know if they should take this into account when voting. But he's not playing 82 games. He's probably not even going to play 78 games.
I agree.
And I think you can shoe Giannis in for at least 76 plus. And the only thing that's going to prevent him from going out there is a legitimate injury.
Yeah.
Kawhi will take time off.
I think, though, if the Clippers are a 70-win basketball team, potentially, and they are in first in the supposedly greatest Western Conference, most even Western Conference of all time, then you have to give it to Kawhi. I don't think it is possible to give it to Giannis at that point.
So, Matt, how do you rebut that with your Jokic take? Do you think that the Nuggets have a chance to be the top seed? Or do you think if the Clippers take the top seed, MVP can still go to Jokic?
MVP should have nothing to do with your overall record because the year Russell Westbrook won, they didn't have a great record, but he still was by far the most valuable player in the league. Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets will be the top seed in the West. They are by far the deepest team, I believe, because they have what they had from last year, right? But they just added Jeremiah Grant. There's an overall great team. Jokic is a great facilitator. And that game the other night against Portland's not an easy team to beat for them, as they saw in the playoffs. Jokic led that team. He got 3 fouls in the first quarter, which was not good. He had to sit for the first half, and then he ended up playing like an MVP the second half. I was really encouraged with how he performed. He made buckets when it mattered. Yeah, he's still a little slow, I guess, but like going up and down the floor, but he's such a high basketball IQ for this guy, and I'm really going on the Jokic train.
So for the next award, let's talk about Defensive Player of the Year. Matt, let's start with your choice.
I'm just going to have to go with Anthony Davis on this one.
Yanni?
I mean, if I don't say Pat Bev, I think I'm giving a crime to society. So,
well,
Pat Bev.
I'm going with Yanni's 1B MVP choice. I'm going to say Kawhi Leonard's going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, the fact that we're conversing so much about the Clippers in these awards is just absurd.
It says a lot about them.
It says a lot.
And I'm just going to go out and say it. There might be more to come.
I think so as well. Cool.
Matt, I'm intrigued by your pick with Anthony Davis.
I mean, Anthony Davis is a monster. I think we have to look at something beyond the first game where I think it was a lot of it was coaching. I mean, Davis is a monster on defense, and I think when he's matched up with Kawhi again, he's going to get his revenge on that. Davis, especially after that first game, wants to prove to the world that he's a top 5 player, and he's going to be able to win the Defensive Player of the Year.
So you're saying he'll do it through his defense?
I mean, he'll put up 25 and 10 every day or every night, but he's going to by far play the most defense on the Lakers.
So a question I have, and this can go for my Kawhi pick too, but like if a guy like Kawhi or a guy like AD is playing at a Defensive Player of the Year status, we know they're going to be scoring the basketball. So isn't that kind of just like MVP? Am I kind of overthinking this?
If someone's in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year and MVP, they have to be in the conversation for one of the best players, and especially MVP. That's why I think Giannis got a lot of hype around, or part of the reason, not the only reason, part of the reason he got around the hype. I'm still a firm believer Giannis did not deserve that MVP last year. I thought James Harden got robbed. But I think if Giannis has something like that again, because James Harden's not going to be able to put up those numbers again, I think it's a good bet if he can do both. I mean, my pick, Jokic, he's going to win MVP by facilitating the team and getting triple-doubles and basing off if the Nuggets do well. Giannis, if he can do anything he did like last year, he'll be able to do MVP for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm thinking about like Paul George last year, finished third in both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. So that could be a thing for Anthony Davis this upcoming season. Mm-hmm. Next award, Rookie of the Year. And guys, this is really a malleable award where we can see it go a lot of different ways. And then we obviously had the unfortunate Zion injury, which let's spend a minute on that. I want to be on the record saying that Zion, and I'm not rooting for this. Full disclosure, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm so wrong it's not even funny. And I look back on this podcast and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? His entire career is going to be riddled with injury. I think he fizzles out after 4 or 5 years. His body type just does not work in the NBA. When you're 6'6", 285 pounds, you go up 40 inches with your vertical, and you also have duck feet, which, through the couple articles that I read about it, adds pressure onto the meniscus in your knee.
Which
his
is
knees
what was torn.
And it was torn before he played a regular season game. I mean, come on. How can he stay healthy? It just doesn't make any sense.
Obviously, Zion is a talent, a body, and an athlete that we arguably have never seen in the game of basketball before. His size, strength, it's unmatched. I mean, people compare him to LeBron when he first came in the league. I think that is underwhelming to Zion's ability to jump and just look big as ever. It is tragic that his body is the way it is, in the way that he is going to face injuries his whole entire career. But, I mean, he's been doing this his whole life. I think this was an injury that he acquired maybe even back at Duke. Like, you don't know if this has been nagging on since the blown out shoe in the UNC game. Like,
it has to have been.
I think so as well. I think this has just been because there are times when you can tear a muscle and not even realize it and continue to do what you do with just like slight pain. This could be lingering back to a blown accident in a college basketball game months ago. So we have no idea if this is going to be his whole career or not, but I think it's too early to jump on the wagon and say this is going to be Zion's rest of his career. I can't say that as of yet, knowing his background information, knowing the UNC game, and knowing the fact that he is in the NBA with the best training regimens, with the best trainers, with the best rehab peoples of all time. I think he's going to find a way to potentially, I mean, this rookie class is so spread out. I think he has a chance to potentially come back and still win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Yanni, I'm on board with that. And we have to remember that Joel Embiid pretty much missed his first 3 seasons. Blake Griffin missed his first season. Ben Simmons missed his first season. And they ended up being really good players. So I wouldn't count Zion out yet, but I see what Sam's saying. He's going to miss some games like Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid will never be 100% healthy, and I think Zion will be the same way. As my pick for Rookie of the Year, if I'm not considering the games played, I'm going to pick Zion Williamson because I think he'll come back strong. But from just going off what I saw the past 3 days, RJ Barrett looking kind of good. The Knicks looking kind of good. I didn't see a lot from Ja Morant. I believe the guy, his name's PJ Washington. I believe he's the rookie on. He looked good. He looked good. So I'm going to see how he does tonight from that. He might be my pick too. But right now, I have my faith in RJ Barrett.
Yeah, I said RJ Barrett too.
I also was going to say RJ Barrett. So I'm glad we're all in agreement, which is kind of weird because I didn't think this one would be in agreement at all.
Same.
I think Zion will come back and potentially win it. But if we're just basing it off what we've seen, I think RJ has it hands down.
Yeah, what gives me confidence in RJ is that we know he's going to get the volume.
Exactly. He's in the bright lights. He's going to get the ball. He's going to have the keys to the car.
Behind Marcus Morris and Julius Randle, he's the number 3 scoring option there. And he's also the facilitator. So he'll have the opportunity to play. You know, he seems to be a level-headed guy, and it's hard to count people like that out. So I have confidence in him. I think the Knicks won't be embarrassing this year, which says a lot after how bad they were last year. So I think it's good. Well, yeah, we all agree.
Yeah, the Charlotte and Wizards will definitely have worse records than.
By a lot. I think the Knicks.
Lot.
I think the Knicks will be a fringe playoff team.
Yeah, I think they'll be a 10th seed, maybe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I think they'll be a 10 seed. They'll finish as a 10 seed, but they'll be in the conversation.
Yeah, they will not
March.
nearly be as bad as they were last year.
But do you guys agree that in March we'll be saying like the Knicks might be a playoff team? Do you think that's fair, or do you think that they'll be kind of counted out like after the All-Star break?
I think by All-Star break you'll know if they'll be able to make the playoffs. For me,
I think the bottom after 7, so below the 7th ranked team in the East, is going to be such a toss-up that I think we could be talking about March or April. We could be talking about the Knicks in that conversation. Just through vet experience, just through potential performance from RJ Barrett. I mean, Julius Randle is one of my favorite players. I think the demise of the Lakers started with the loss of Julius Randle, and it is going to be interesting to see how the Lakers play. I mean, they got guys who are gritty. They got guys who want to win games. I don't count them out in any basketball game as of yet.
Yeah, because the teams they're competing with for the playoff spot, and this is obviously after like 1 or 2 games this season, they'll be like, I don't know, kind of in the conversation with like the Heat, the Hornets, the Hawks. Probably not the Hornets, but like the Bulls, no. The Pacers are probably going to be a higher seed. Like there's not a lot of depth. So
I wouldn't go as far to say that Miami will be better than the Knicks, but I'd say definitely Cleveland's going to be shit. Washington's going to be awful. Hornets going to be awful. I think Orlando might give the Knicks good competition.
Orlando will be in the same. They'll be better than the Heat.
I think Chicago. There's a chance to Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen is no scrub. These players can play, and then even I think Toronto even would be a good one, and Brooklyn too. If even those are like kind of. For me, Brooklyn, Toronto are like 5th, 6th, 7th.
I think those teams are locked for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so too.
And we're not going to get into it, but just to bring up Kyrie's 50 burger that he dropped the other night, I just find it comical that he can drop 50 points and the Nets will still lose that game. I just find it funny because
all right.
to the Timberwolves, who
We're all
I don't
gonna
even think are close to a playoff team in the West.
We're all going to make 1 point on the Kyrie game.
That was mine.
My 1 point, Kenny Atkinson giving him the keys, saying, Kyrie, do whatever the heck you want. That's the only way to keep them happy. Will it help them win? Probably not.
Yeah, my advice, takeaway, Karl-Anthony Towns, you need to get out of Minnesota. You are so much better than all those players, and you're wasting your career next to a scrub Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins took the second most shots in the NBA that night.
Yes.
Only to Kyrie Irving.
Right.
And Wiggins scored like 21 points.
Yeah.
So that says a lot. Moving on, Coach of the Year, my pick. We're keeping it consistent, guys. Doc Rivers. I think it's kind of a no-brainer.
Doc Rivers, no-brainer. I mean,
I had him last year, too.
I had him last year as well. I don't think it's even a question.
Yeah, I think for me it's half Doc Rivers, half Mike Malone.
Pick one.
Mike Malone.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I think Doc Rivers is the easy choice, but I think if Mike Malone can take a number 1 seed, he'll be coach of the year.
I think even if they're like a 2-3 seed.
I think Mike Malone's job is on the line this year, and that might be a hot take.
That is a hot take.
I think Mike Malone, if he doesn't perform with Russ and
Mike Malone's the Nuggets.
Maybe I'm in
thinking
Colorado
Mike
and I'm
D'Antoni.
high. Mike D'Antoni. I think his job is on the line. Okay. Yes. I confused the mics. It's Mike and Ike. So.
Yeah, Mike D'Antoni's job is if they don't get out of the second round,
Mike
D'Antoni's job is on the line.
I wasn't sure they'd bring him back this year, honestly. I thought that when they were speculating about that, I was like, I could really see them getting
I think
rid
he's
of
a
him.
good coach for that team, but they just need to perform better. They need to do well, and Mike D'Antoni has not. I don't think he's ever been to a finals, has he?
No, I don't want to dwell on Mike D'Antoni, but he's the Andy Reid of basketball. He can create a great offense and score a bunch of points, but when it counts and also creating a defense, it's non-existent. Andy Reid's never had a good defense. He's also the worst clock manager in the history of football. Same goes for Mike D'Antoni.
And he's fat, so like that stinks.
Well, Mike D'Antoni's not fat, so he's got that
Well,
going
he's
for
going to
him.
be fat soon, so eat that.
Yeah,
One more
well,
award.
Houston,
Yes,
fattest city on the planet.
Very true.
So there you go.
very true. One more award I want to get into. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on this, just really quickly. The most improved player of this year is going to be Jabari Parker for the Atlanta Hawks.
Interesting.
Yes.
Why do you say that?
I think he's ready. I think he has had a career of just like backdrop and just maybe spurts of, oh, he could have a year this year. I think this year is going to be the year that Jabari Parker shows that he was the number 2 pick of that class and shows why he is a talent that he is. He's been plagued with injuries his whole career. I think he's healthy now. He's ready to go. He's playing in a market of Atlanta where, I mean, anyone can be good in Atlanta. And I think he's primed for a great breakout season. That might be a hot take, but I've been thinking about that for a while now.
Well, Atlanta's a really well-coached team, so.
Yeah, I don't have a most improved. I need to see more games. One of my most improved players, anyone I can pick up from waivers on fantasy that turns out to be God. It's like Pascal Siakam was last year.
Yeah, well, one thing that I'm thinking about for most improved player, just while we're on the subject, actually goes to my bold prediction. So if we want to do a smooth little transition into that,
Well done. Well done.
my bold prediction, Thomas Bryant of the Washington Wizards will be an all-star this year. Not only will he be an all-star, he might win most improved player because people kind of saw him become really good last year. But to be really specific, we're looking at Al Horford 2.0. I'm locking him in right now. Pop it, lock it, whatever they say. He's going to average 13 points. I know it's measly. 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. And he's going to shoot, I'm going to say 60% from the field, 80% from free throw. And he's also going to shoot above 25% from 3. And I can see his scoring numbers being higher than 13, but that was just kind of my safe prediction. Although I know we're supposed to be bold, but you watch him play, he's very steady yet aggressive. He takes smart shots. He sets up his teammates, and he's in the position to be a number 2 option with the Wizards, where it's really Bradley Beal and then Roy Hachimura and a bunch of what.
I got 2 bold predictions for you. My first one goes out west. I think the Lakers finish 6th seed or below in the West. I don't think they have enough. I think the Western Conference is too tough. Unless they get another shooter, they're going to finish 6th seed or below. My second prediction, really hot. I think Andre Drummond, I don't think he's going to win it. I think he's going to be in the conversation for MVP this year. Just the conversation. I think you're not going to be able to ignore Andre Drummond's stat lines this whole year and be like, hey, those might be MVP numbers.
Yeah, that's definitely a bold prediction. I guess my first safe prediction would be that Trae Young will be an all-star this year. I think the East is so weak, and Trae Young
That's not bold.
was bald. I know it's not. I'm not saying it's bald. It's a safe one. That's just on my mind. Here's my bold prediction. I'm going to list it out for you guys. Clippers next 10 games, right? They're 2-0 right now. I'm going to go through the next 10 games and tell you which ones they're going to win, which are going to lose. Clippers play the Suns tomorrow. Clippers are going to win that game. Then they play the Hornets. Clippers are going to win that game. They're going to play the Jazz. The Jazz are going to win that game. It'll be their first loss of the season. Clippers are going to play the Spurs. They're going to beat the Spurs. They're going to play the Jazz again. Clippers are going to win that game against the Jazz. Then they play the Bucks. I'm torn on this one, but I think Kawhi's going to get the better of Giannis again. I think the Clippers are going to win that game. Trailblazers versus Clippers. I think I like your point about the guard play. I think Clippers are going to win the game too. Then they play the Raptors. Clippers are going to beat the Raptors. Then they play the Rockets. I'm absolutely going with the Rockets on that one. It's more of a bias thing for me, but I feel like that's a game that Rockets can win. Then they play the Pelicans, and they'll beat the Pelicans. So I believe they will be 12-2 after the 10-game stretch. So that's my take, but I think the Bucks have the chance. So they could be 11-3 too.
It's going to be an interesting season. I'm excited. Basketball's back. Basketball is back.
There's really a lot that can go on this season. And, I mean, we've gone through, 5 years where it's been either the Heat with LeBron or is the Warriors. No, it's more than 5 years. But, from LeBron's Heat to the Warriors with, Curry, Clay.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, that was basically 4 years in itself.
Exactly.
The LeBron's Heat was what?
3
4
years?
more?
Four. It was
Four of those?
4 years.
3 or 4, something like that. I mean, it should have been.
It was 4 because they
It should
lost.
have been not 2, not 3, but 8. But it was 2.
It was 2.
Very
and they
shitty
lost.
2.
They lost to an old Dirk.
Old Dirk. Ray
Old
Allen saved LeBron's bum. LeBron never wins his own championships. Everyone else wins it for
Never
him.
happened. Never will happen.
Whatever.
Although the Warriors won, but
Yeah.
that's just
whatever.
reality. Can't deny that.
Kyrie, game 7.
Kyrie, you know what? Yeah,
Kyrie
you're
game
right.
7.
Kyrie won that one, not LeBron.
Thank you.
So, which of these bold predictions which I really don't think, now that I'm like hearing them, none of which were that bold. I'd say the boldest was Yanni's.
Yeah, Andre Drummond.
With Andre Drummond. But I'm not doubting it for whatever reason.
Also, I didn't want to repeat my bold prediction from the start of the season. The Jazz are 1-0. I don't know if we want to talk about it. The Jazz are 1-0, guys. 82-0 on the way.
So they play the Clippers twice in the next few weeks. Are the Jazz gonna beat the Clippers twice?
Does a bear poop in the woods, Matt? Yes, it does. Thank you.
Now I think that's another bold prediction.
I think that's a more bold prediction now. I kind of want to keep going on this because
Listen,
we're all clamoring about how good the Clippers look.
Yeah, no, I love the Clippers. Obviously, I love the Jazz too. The Jazz are my guys out west. Mike Conley was 1 for 16. He was abysmal in their game against the Thunder, and they still won. I mean, they did play the Thunder. Whatever. The Thunder are going to stink out loud. They won. They're 1-0. I can't hate it. Donovan Mitchell looked good. I think he had 32.
He didn't look good. He looked freaking amazing.
Amazing.
Did you see his highlights?
Amazing. Yeah.
He's some of the moves he's putting on.
If he turns into that guy, people are gonna hate to see me and be like, "Oh, you bet the Jazz." I was like, "Yeah."
I think he's turning into that guy right before our eyes. Like he really is. He's a top flight number one. You need a bucket. I'll give you a bucket scorer.
And that's what the Jazz need. If the Jazz get that guy, good luck.
All right, I'll give you one more bold prediction that's really bold. Because Yanni said that Lakers will place 6th, and at first I was like, no way, but now I'm thinking about it more. I'm like, probably. I believe the Dallas Mavericks will be a top 6 team in the West this year. I think the way that if Luka and KP can stay healthy, especially KP, that's a dynamic duo. That Luka put up 34. KP said he's not even at 100% right now. He said he's not feeling it right now with the way he's playing, but he's a shot blocker. He can shoot from. He's like Kevin Durant. He's 7'3" and can shoot the 3 well. That's what I'm going with my prediction.
It sucks that I don't hate that, but at the same time, I just can't. I think Luka is an interesting talent to the point where he came in the league. He's a foreign guy. A lot of the times when you see something for the first time, you don't know how to stop it. So I think that was why his first year was so great. I'm not doubting his talent, but I think people are going to understand how to stop him at this rate. I think the same thing happened in football with Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes. They didn't see guys like this. They came in the game. They changed it. It's going to be interesting to see how teams stop Luka this year because now that they have the insight on him, they can game plan ahead of time. I like the Mavericks being a playoff team. I don't know about top 6.
Before Sam says it, yes, I know they played the horrible Wizards, but I was still encouraged.
Oh, no. Well, there's always room for encouragement because if you're playing NBA talent,
I don't like to say that because I know that they played the Wizards. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I think the Mavericks with their first 10 games will start out 7-3.
All right, boys. Got a lot of good talk in. The season's just beginning. The HoopCats season is really just beginning. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure as hell excited. I feel like we're going to have a lot of great banter coming on the pod.
Yep.
Maybe some guests as the season goes on. A couple of people want to get their takes in. We're hearing it. We want to get the voice of the people to the listeners of the Teenage HoopCats podcast. Boys, it's happening. It's happening.
LeBron, if you're listening, I hate you. Thanks.
Come on the show.
Yeah, please come on the show, and I'd just like to thank all the fans that listen to the podcast.
You know, if you come on the show, just like, look, we're going to trash you, but we want you to refute. We want you to rebut. We want to hear it.
I won't even shake your damn hand for crying out loud. You know what? Don't even come in. I don't want you in my studio.
You know what, LeBron?
Smell.
If your ego is as big as it is, and if you think you're as hot as you are, and if you think that you can trademark Taco Tuesday, come on the show.
Yeah. Listen, we're Boston Celtics. We have our own tacos. All right?
Got
Get
2
out
tacos.
of my face.
Got Taco Fall and Taco J. All right?
Yeah. Nice try.
It's easy.
Nice try, buddy.
That about wraps it up for the 4th episode of the 2nd season on the Teenage HoopCats podcast. A lot of good talk today. I'd like to thank our producer, Benjamin Strawbridge. Shout out Matt and Yanni. You guys are awesome. It's always great doing the show with you guys. Thanks to Miguel Oyler-Castrillo for doing the music. Listeners, you can find us on Bandcamp. Although if you're listening to this, you already found us on Bandcamp. But you can still tell your friends about us on Bandcamp, Teenage Podcast Network. Follow us on Instagram, Teenage HoopCats. Follow us on Twitter, Teenage HoopCats. Guys, just stay tuned. More shows, more content. It's only going up from here.
We got a lot coming at you guys. Be ready.
Thank you, Ben Strawbridge.
All right.
Many buckets.
All right, guys. Good night.